Hey, it's that time again. We're doing Fame TV Online. I'm Genesis, and today I have the privilege of hanging out with Dara Mayhoe. She's going to tell us all about her brand and her business, her baby, LuvCovers LLC. Dara, how are you today?
I am excellent all the time, Genesis. Thank you.
Hey, fantastic. That is a great place to be, and that is a great answer, because some people are like, oh, I don't know, but excellent is a great place to start the day, great place to be just in life in general, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So LuvCovers. So you got to tell us, what is LuvCovers? Like, give us a full-on breakdown of what we can expect and what we should look to get from LuvCovers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, LuvCovers is a whole lot, right? LuvCovers is, first of all, is a heart thing. You know, everything I do it from my heart. One thing I always say is do it with passion or don't do it at all, right?
Sure.
So with LuvCovers, it starts with love, but it covers fashion. I released my book, which is called A Wonderful Change. That book was released back in 2019, August.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yep, and then I also focus on wellness and fitness. I have improved my health over the past several years, and so I just kind of, took a bunch of ladies with me, and we just kind of formed a community of it, and so that's how that works. But yeah, fashion, helping the community. I released my book. I am called to different speaking capacities and things like that.
Awesome.
But yeah, so LuvCovers is the parent of just kind of a bunch of other entities.
Sure. So LuvCovers is really the umbrella to, it sounds like about 5 other things that you're into. So, all right, so one thing I heard you say, you mentioned fashion. Tell me a little about the fashion part of things.
Yes, sir. So fashion, I mean, as you can see, your girl kind of fly, but it's my passion. I have a passion for fashion. I grew up just around fashion, and I really didn't know it until retrospectively looking, but I know sometimes when you want to be fashionable, people immediately think that it's a money thing. You have to have a lot of money to look good. But I want LuvCovers to dispel the myth, especially in underserved communities. There are a lot of hardworking people that have a desire for fashion but really don't have an outlet, especially in small cities like Lansing. It's not a big metropolis area, so you don't have really access to high fashion at economical prices. So that's what your girl came to do. Yep.
That's awesome. And for me, it's a little known fact that I actually attended a fashion institute for a while. So when I was in high school, I was like, I had it all set. I was like, I'm gonna be a fashion designer, and the way I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go to school, then I'm gonna become a buyer for Marshall Fields. If you remember that company from years ago.
Only the cookies though, sorry.
Oh, they was the truth. They were the truth. I used to eat them because I did end up working there. But I went and I started working there, and I was like, I'm gonna become a buyer. Then I'm gonna go to Paris. I'm gonna learn about all the different silks and materials. And kind of like you, it sounded good, but I was like, I can't really afford what I want to do, because I was putting excellence together from the thrift store.
For sure. Yes.
And so,
for sure.
there definitely needs to be a space for people who want to dress nice, but can't necessarily afford the high end. And it sounds like LuvCovers comes right in to fill that void, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's what we came to do. And I like what you touched on about thrift stores, okay? Because growing up, we didn't have a lot, a lot of resources. And so I would see my mother take different fashions and put them together and know how to just piece it together, and so I look at that and definitely the personality behind LuvCovers. So not just affordable fashions, but fashion that has a lot of personality and characteristic, right? So LuvCovers is kind of soft, I grew up with a little bit of a hard exterior, and as a lady, it makes me feel good to be soft, So
absolutely.
You'll see a lot of lace, you'll see ruffles, you'll see flowers, you'll see, colors that really make you happy. So a lot of my personality is reflected through LuvCovers because I am an upbeat person, I am a very colorful person, I'm a very joyful person. So I just hope that's what LuvCovers represents.
Awesome. Now, you are very stylish. So I gotta say, who do you glean your fashion style from? Like, who influences you? There's gotta be somebody that you said, oh, I need to do exactly what they're doing times 10, because that's what you got going on today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really do. I look at this outfit here, and it has so many generations even of fashion that I see in what I wear. These boots here remind me of my grandmother was the boot queen, and she loved different fashion boots with just a little kitten heel on it. And I remember my grandmother dressing like that. I mean, she could put a sweatsuit on and throw them boots on and be styling, honey. And so that's what I remember about my grandmother. My mother, she was, again, you know, we didn't have a lot, but she was resourceful and she was classy with it, okay? So this blouse that I have here, honey, mama will wear this blouse, okay? In fact, when she sees this recording here, this show, she's gonna say, oh, I like that style. And I'll have to tell her, mama, you inspired this top. But yeah, so these pants, all right, you're not gonna believe this. Now, I came to knowing this about these pants after I purchased them. But one of my fashion mentors on television, Ian Van Zandt. Ooh, that lady can dress. And I had purchased these pants, but I didn't have a top. And it was a top to it, but it was too busy. So I said, no, I got to do something else with those pants. And one day I was watching the show with Ian Van Zandt, and sure enough, she had these same pants on with some similar boots. But I really looked to Ian Van Zandt for fashion mentoring. I'll even take it back to good times, right? Walona used to come through with the fashion.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, all the shows back then and stuff, you know, so I keep my eyes open, even in church. I look up to my first lady, my bishop's wife. She dresses very classy, like a lady, you know, well put together. So there are a lot of influences that I have. I could go on and on about people that I'm just around, women that I'm around, men that I'm around, that I say, hey, you know what? I would like LuvCovers to feature a fashion like that. So yeah, I have a lot of mentors that encourage me.
That's good. That's really good. You know, I think back to a lot of different things I've done in life. The people that have influenced me the most are the people that didn't even realize they were an influence.
Come on
So
now.
like my grandmother, you referenced yours, but my grandmother was amazing with design and sewing machines. And I remember being a 5-year-old watching her, you know, do patterns. And it wasn't that she went to school and had all these different skills. It was she taught herself because she had a need.
Right.
And she had a lot of kids. And she's like, I can't take all these kids and buy different things.
Yeah.
So she learned how to do those things on her own.
Being resourceful.
Yeah, she started doing like choir robes and pastor robes and all that, and it just grew into a whole different thing. And what's funny is everybody that was really close to her, whether it's a slip stitch or just by hand, we all know how to sew. You know, and so the people who don't realize they're your biggest influence can be your biggest influence.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that's very
a good
huge.
point.
Yeah, that's very huge for you. So I know you've got LuvCovers, and you're also a published author. You mentioned that. So kind of dive in about your book a little bit.
Yeah, I am gonna dive in. I just want to dispel one myth though. If somebody think I'm sitting up stitching and sewing, your girl ain't stitching and sewing, but I do have an eye for fashion. So if you need a wedding dress made, don't call me, y'all, because I ain't your girl.
Don't call her. Don't call her. She can tell you where to pick one out and help you pick it out.
And I can tell you exactly what type of, I could send you there. Okay. We just gonna leave that right there, Genesis.
Yeah. So your book, let's get into your book, because I know you did a release. And I saw video footage of your release, right? So let's talk about that book a little bit.
Yep. So August 2019, your girl finally released a project that was bubbling in my spirit for a while. It had been a few years that I felt in my spirit that I wanted to write a book, but I'm always very careful about letting the Lord lead my way, you know? So I had to make sure that I wasn't just being excited about something, but that I was actually fulfilling my purpose, right? So August 2019, yes, your girl dropped her book, A Wonderful Change. The book is pretty much all about my life.
Okay.
I have had my fair share of adversity. I mean, just hardships that you would really only see on a Lifetime movie.
Wow.
You know, pretty much every hardship in my eyes that I can just kind of imagine, I went through, you know, from experiencing homelessness, you know, abuse, domestic abuse, substance abuse, you know, having poor mental health, having experiences in psychiatric hospitals.
Wow,
I was habitually incarcerated over and over and over again, you know. So for me to write my book, and even in the process of that, it affected my parenting, where I was even separated from my son for 15 years.
Wow.
No contact. So for somebody to go through something as intense as that, as that much to happen, and to see where God has brought me to today, that's a testimony that has to be told.
Right.
Because there's so many people that are hopeless. You know, people don't believe when you're in it that it's gonna get better, because all you can see is where you're at. But if we could advocate one for another, you know, and share our stories and our testimonies, because sometimes we'll come out, but then we're too ashamed to say, hey, I was there.
Right.
I know what it's like. You know, I know what it's like to be in the homeless shelter. I know what it's like to feel like you want that next line of cocaine.
Right, yeah.
I know, you know, I want to pull all the layers off. I could get cute later. But people are hurting, and people need to know that there is a God that can save you, that can flip you, turn you around, and have you on a path of transformation, because it doesn't happen overnight. Transformation is a process.
Right.
But I'm glad that I can look back 20 years later and say, wow, I'm not that same woman anymore. As I grow, you know, the layers are just, everything is just falling off, and I'm blossoming. And so that's why I'm bold enough now to be able to practice everything that's in me, because before I was scared, you know. I had too much adversity going on for me to focus on my purpose. You know, I'm just trying to make it day by day. So yeah, so you can find my book on Amazon, Genesis. You know, my book is on Amazon.com. It really didn't get the publicity that it needed. Again, my book is called A Wonderful Change. Dara Mayhoe. Yep, you can find it on Amazon. It didn't really get the push for publicity, promotion that it really deserved. So everything LuvCovers as a whole is being rebranded. So under that rebranding is a whole new focus for my book. There may be a deluxe edition of my book that may be coming out. Yeah,
that's
for
good.
Sure. Because there was a lot of things that at that time that I wasn't released. You know, I look for God to okay me, give me the pass. And there were some things that I didn't elaborate on at that time, you know. So there's some stories that I still have to share, you know, to help people to be able to grow and really, 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 not just with lip service and say I trust God, but really trust God and be able to look at other people and their testimony to say, you know what, if he did it for them, he'll do it for me.
Absolutely. And you know, you hit a lot of really key points. One thing I always tell people is that a large percentage of what we go through is for other people.
For sure.
And I think God allows some of us that are maybe stronger to endure things to you know, transfer to other people and say, hey, you don't have to go this route.
Sure.
And even if you did go this route, let me show you how you can come out.
Absolutely.
To the old saying, I don't look like what I've been through. And I look at you and the things you've said, I'm like, how is that even possible? You know, and God makes us brand new.
Yes.
You know, God covers us just like LuvCovers.
Yes.
And people will look at our own situations and be like, how is it that you went through that?
Yeah.
Because I used to, you know, and just sharing some of my own situation, I was going around hosting different events, you know, going to all kind of different stuff. But at the end of the day, I lived in my car. But nobody knew that. And the difference with me is I was going through just like other people, but I dressed my mess up because I believed it wasn't always going to be like this.
I know that's right.
You know, I was headstrong enough to say it's not always going to be like this. This is a hurdle. This is a stumbling block. And when I'm able to testify to somebody else about this, it's going to help them.
Right.
And so I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing the next part of your book. And man, even though you said it didn't get the promo that it needed, I'm hoping that everything you do going forward, you know, pushes people right back to the book.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Genesis. I appreciate that. Yep. So 2021 is a brand new day. Your girl got some promo deals for my book and everything. So I'm praying that it be prosperous in a way, not to help me grow. I mean, surely, you know, I'm available for whatever God has for me. But when I say that I hope that it's a prosperous project, is that I hope that it really blesses people to where when they pick up my book, as people have told me, girl, when I picked that book up, I couldn't put it down. Most people read my book in almost one sitting, you know. It ain't that long anyway, because I want to keep the reader's attention, you know. But, you know, people say, you know, it's hard to put down, and I hope that in that instance where I have a lot of relationships with domestic abuse shelters and stuff like that, I've donated some books here and there, and I hope that when my book gets in those hands of the people that need that story, that they say, I can make it. If she went through all of that, let me try to God she's been believing in, and that she's been trusting, and see, you know, what's available to me. And ultimately, the real gift is salvation. This is just a passing time, but there's certainly a path that we have to take until we get to glory, because nobody has arrived. So just while we're here, we might as well be here and serve our purpose.
You know, we have to occupy, and that occupy doesn't just mean serve ourselves. You know, only what we do for Christ will last. Come on now. Right? Yes. But if we're doing for Christ, and Christ tells us to do for others, we ain't doing His will. We ain't occupying as it says we should. Yes. You know, that's a form of godliness and denying the power thereof. You being selfish, but trying to paint Christianity and beliefs and faith.
We have to be
the prayer.
Yeah, we have to be the prayer answer. We'll pray for people, but do we get up from our knees praying for people and be that prayer answer? So that's what I hope my book kind of does, is be a prayer answer of hope to remind people that God is still in action. Always will be.
Because this is your way of testifying to those who can't get through their own things. But check this out. Not only is it a testimony for them, it's a testimony for those that knew you back then.
Come on now.
That love that, you know, I always tell people, you know, people love you where you are. No, people love you where you were, but hate you where you are. But you got to show those people, listen, this is God's doing. You know, this is God's doing. This ain't got nothing to do with me. This speaks for itself of God's work. You know, I've had opportunities where I can't believe it. Like I look and I say, you know, I barely got out of high school, but yet there were things that I was hired to do for people with doctorate degrees and master's degrees, and they needed me because God put me in place. They needed me because God put me in place. For what they needed done. They needed me to walk in my purpose in that moment.
Yeah, that's good.
So with everything you're doing, it sounds like just a fantastic work for the community and the world abroad. What type of legacy do you want to leave in addition to LuvCovers? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yep, so LuvCovers is it in a nutshell, because when I say LuvCovers, I think of my the scripture that says in Corinthians, let everything you do be done in love. I want that to be my legacy. When I leave this earth, anybody that I came in contact with, whether they were to come for fashion mentoring, whether they bought fashions, whether they read my book, or perhaps they just came in contact with me at the grocery store. You know, my children, my family, my husband, you know, anybody that I came in contact with, I want my legacy to be when I'm gone is that when you remember what I did, when you remember who I was, remember that to be loving. Remember that to be kind. Remember that to be forgiving. Remember that to be strong. Remember that to be faith-led, you know? That's why I named my business LuvCovers, because love covers everything. And I believe that with everything in me. I believe that if I do everything with love, that it'll prosper and that it'll be honorable in God's eyes. And at the end of the day, that's the only person that's the only being, all-powerful being, everywhere being, omnipotent being, all-powerful, just everywhere, all-powerful. That's the only thing that matters to me, is that I operated in the essence of love. Because when I leave this earth, I want to leave a sweet fragrance that's pleasing to God.
Amen to that. And the thing about it is, a lot of people take the word love and they think, oh, you know, that's a thing between a parent and a child. That's a thing between, you know, somebody you're dating, and oh, that's a family thing. But the truth of the matter is that, you know, and I'm not going to get preachy here, but the greatest example of love we have is Jesus going to the cross.
Yes. Yep.
And if we can't love each other down here, are we deserving of that kind of love? No. And so I believe that him showing that example of love and you showing your example of love is just a further way of really showing that everything you're saying, you're sincere about it. Everything you're doing, you're sincere about it. And you're not doing it to pump yourself up, but you're simply doing it because you believe in love and you believe in God and you believe in what love really represents. And so,
you know, that's the only reason I do it. Is I'm glad you said, you know, it's honestly not to pump myself up. And I thank God, because in 2020, I was delivered from a shy spirit.
Wow.
So I had all of this awesome sauce and I was scared to display it because I was afraid of how people would receive me, if I'm good enough, if people look at me and say, oh, that's not how a Christian does it. That's not how Christian ladies look. But to know that everything I do, I asked my Heavenly Father first. So he ordained it. He condoned it for me. He set me out to do it. So having to learn to put on my blinders and run my race without worrying what type of cheers or boos are coming from the stands, yet I just run my race and look at my prize. So it's certainly not to make myself look good or a certain way, because I was halfway shaking anyway to come on out there, you know. So this is certainly for God's people and just to glorify God and show my heart in everything that I do.
Well, I want to continue to encourage you just to walk in it and do what God has given you to do, because that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. And when you honor God, you are certainly doing His work. And so I'm glad that you sat down with me today. You definitely have to, you all that are watching and listening out there, you definitely have to support LuvCovers. If you need to get your fashion together, you know who to go see, right? If you need a good read, you know who to go check out. And so there's some other things that we're going to hear about in the near future, and we'll share those for you on a later broadcast. But I'm so glad that I got to know you and you sat down with me. So thank you so much. Make sure you all support LuvCovers on all forms of social media. Check out anything you can find about Dara and her book, right?
Yep. And just to keep y'all up with what's going on, look for the rebrand, the new website, new fashions, new everything is coming in spring 2021. So look for that. You can check me out on social media now. Get warmed up now, because baby, we coming on through in spring 2021. Thank you so much, Genesis. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for hanging out with us.